Welcome to the China Influencer Marketing Podcast. Each week, we speak with top influencers, marketers, and brands who share their experiences, strategies, and tactics for influencer marketing in China. Here's your host, Lauren Hallanan.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to episode 28 of the China Influencer Marketing Podcast. In this episode, we learn all about e-commerce live streaming from Liyia Wu, the founder and CEO of ShopShops, an interactive live stream global marketplace that connects retailers and brands directly with Chinese cross-border shoppers. In this episode, we discuss a lot of things. For example, what is ShopShops and how does the business model work? Why live streaming is an excellent way to sell products, ShopShops audience demographics, the key traits of a good e-commerce live streamer, the technology and preparation behind each stream, why there is no better way to build close connections with your audience than live streaming, and of course, the future of the Chinese e-commerce live streaming industry. In the interview, Liyia made 2 points that I found really interesting. The first is that while there are a lot of traits that are needed to be a good live streamer, the most important thing that she looks for is passion about the topic of that live stream. She says if the streamer is genuinely excited and curious and wants to be talking about this topic, then everything else will fall into place. The second thing that she said was that the fear of technical difficulties or mistakes should not deter brands from live streaming. In fact, sometimes the problems that occur during live streaming are good because they make the stream more real and they keep it from appearing too staged. I think that even though the Chinese live streaming industry as a whole has cooled off a bit, e-commerce live streaming is still doing really well, and it will be one of the big trends in Chinese live streaming moving forward. Liyia was very smart to get in and start developing her company early on, and I'm sure that ShopShops will continue to see success moving forward. Before we start, I just want to take a quick moment to thank our sponsor, Parkloo. Parkloo is China's premier influencer marketing platform. Learn more at parkloo.com. And now, on to our interview with Liyia. Hi, Liyia. Welcome to the China Influencer Marketing Podcast. I'm really excited to have you on the show.
Hi, Lauren. Thank you for having me.
So I was wondering if you could start off the show by just introducing yourself and a little bit about your company, ShopShops.
Well, I am the founder of ShopShops, I guess. I'm a Chinese Canadian who was born in China, grew up half in Beijing and half of my lifetime not lifetime yet, but halfly in Canada, Vancouver. And I was educated within China and then also in Canada as well. I have a fashion background and worked in fashion industry for more than 15 years now, I think.
Okay, a long time. And what made you decide to start ShopShops?
Well, I have always been a person who loved to shop. So I guess that's sort of the priority reason. But the main reason is that as a designer, as a store owner myself, when I was having my own business prior to ShopShops in Beijing, I always wanted to find different markets. I always wanted to discover different customers that are cross-border, and it's very, very hard to reach them. And I saw the difficulties exist in the U.S. and China, so I want to build something that can create a direct connection of these multi-brands retail stores or even designer labels to be able to connect to the final consumers directly and also tell their own stories. And ShopShops was literally meant going shopping at the stores.
Okay. And could you explain a little bit about the current business model and kind of what you guys do for brands?
We are working on live stream, so interactive retail, as we call it, is what we see as the future of current retail, bringing the offline experience to the online customers. So basically, our host will bring an iPhone and a tripod going to our partner retail stores. It can be a multi-brand store, it can be a vintage store, or it can be a flea market, as we know, that they can go in and live for about 2 to 3 hours, introducing products and introducing that entire shopping experience to the viewers in China and be able to buy as what they see.
Okay. And I understand very well what the benefits of marketing products through live streaming are, but could you explain, why did you guys choose live streaming and why does this work so well?
I think we chose live stream is thinking about how to presenting a real experience that most people don't or hasn't really experienced before, such as a lot of viewers has never been to New York or been to LA. How do we able to present that authenticity of the experience to our customers? Live stream is very direct in terms of everyone is real. It's a real store. It's the real host that has a real life stories to talk about. And the products are also real, there to be fit on, to be tried on. And therefore, I think the authenticity is what's most interesting. And secondly, it's the interaction that's going on between the host and the audiences. And then sometimes it's the host with the store owners, and also sometimes it's the store owners directly with the audience. So there's a lot of direct interactions between these three different parties that probably will never be connected, not through live stream. So I think these two are the most important things why live stream is so different comparing to other media channels.
Yeah, and I think on top of that, at least from my understanding, it especially selling products from overseas, there's a lot of issues. Well, you kind of mentioned authenticity, but yeah, there's a lot of issues with trust, I think, and Chinese consumers, and they're very afraid that if they buy something online, it's going to be fake. And so I think that your model also is probably very helpful for giving them confidence that you're really in the store, you're with the store owner, this product's going to be real.
Yes. So everything happens in real time. So I think that's where it's authenticity experience. It's authenticity of the product, and it's what most other channels aren't able to deliver both of them at the same time.
Yeah. So you kind of mentioned just now what types of, it sounds like you guys work with a lot of different types of brands, but could you maybe explain a bit more? I mean, are the brands that you're working with, do they already have a presence in China, or are they don't have any China presence? Like, how do you go about choosing what types of brands to work with?
To be very honest, we're not very brand focused or single brand focused. We like to see ourselves as retailer focused. So the retailers can be a multi-brand store. It can be a luxury multi-brand store or a contemporary multi-brand store. So we do work with the Webster, who is probably the most luxurious multi-brand stores there is, and also Elizabeth. And we also work with a lot of other smaller multi-brand stores such as Anthem, Sword and Smith, who are based in the Williamsburg, that are selling more of upcoming U.S. designers labels. And we also work directly with brands who might be huge names or big, such as Theory, Opening Ceremony, Everlane, or they might be very, very small, such as Gatsby Jewel, or even smaller ones that are unknown to the Chinese market. So we don't want to specifically say, or we're not specifically focused on known brand or unknown brand. We curate our store by the location of where the stores are. And we believe that the retailers are selecting their location for a reason. And for that reason, there's a curation already done from the offline existing experience. So the whole purpose of ShopShops is not really just delivering product or brand, but we want to deliver the entire offline experience to the customers.
Okay. And you, right now, you guys are only working with like offline stores in New York City, or do you do other cities as well?
We are actually in many cities now. We have our West Coast office landed in LA in February. So we started working with brands and stores, retailers in the West Coast. And we've also tested with markets in Canada, such as Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal. On the East Coast side, we are still traveling. We haven't opened our Miami office, but we are traveling to Miami, Boston on trip purposes. So trying to expand different cities with our hosts going on weekend trips to discover the experience of that city, and also to find new stores and new partners that we can work with.
That's really cool. You guys are a bit of a travel guide as well, not just a shopping guide. You're like a shopping travel guide as well.
Yes.
So
we actually started as a travel guide.
Oh, really?
Shoppers.
Really?
Yes, that's where the first idea came, as a shopping version of Yelp, where people can use it as a shopping directory. And so parts of our function is still that.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. That's really interesting. So I guess a question that I have, or maybe that other people might be thinking, is why would these brands choose to work with you instead of just streaming on their own?
I think it's because there's still cross-border creates a lot of barriers, and the brands themselves to stream, it definitely will have faced the language barrier at first. And also that there's the culture differences. So I think our host is able to connect the viewers who can relate to the host directly. So basically, it's more of the same body type, the same language, the same sort of taste in selecting the product that they're more familiar with. And so the trust is built on that relatedness. So I think for a lot of the brands or stores, if they wanted to go and live themselves, it's definitely they can do that on Instagram easily. But then how do you translate that language and translate different type of culture?
Right. Yeah. It's probably a lot easier for them to work with somebody that already has that language and following as well.
Yes.
So for the brands that you work with, I'm just curious a bit about the business model. So because I know, I guess something we should explain for people that are listening and aren't familiar with live streaming in China. You guys are live streaming primarily on Taobao, correct?
We started as primarily on Taobao. Right now, we're actually building multi-channels. We have our own live stream channels being built or almost ready to launch, which is our own app. And we're also building within Tengxun WeChat. So we do have a mini program that's ready as well. So it's so what we believe is reaching out to the Chinese market through multi-channels.
Okay, got it. So, but for no matter which channel it is, there's a shopping cart that's going to be connected to the stream, correct? So that people who are watching the stream
they can buy it immediately.
They can search through and look at the items and then buy them immediately while they're watching the stream. So I guess my question for maybe brands that are working with you, how does that actually work? Like, are the items listed in your store, or like are they connected to the brand's online store? Like, how does the whole business model? I'm just curious about how the business model works.
Well, I guess the simplest way to understand is that when the host is within the store, the entire the store is not really open to the public. So during that 2 or 3 hours period of time, the entire store's inventory, or in a way, are all belongs or all parts of that event. And as the host curating the event, the host can select and pick items that she wants to present, and be able to upload the product to the live stream room almost within 20 seconds to less than 2 minutes. So we do have a back end that allows the host to be able to upload the product to the live stream room almost immediately. So even if she's on the street, she can still do it.
Wow.
So that's sort of the technology behind it. Obviously, we're also working very closely on building the back end to connect to some of the stores that do have the e-commerce abilities through Shopify or through Magento. So this is the next coming step where everyone who is on Shopify can be connected to us directly.
Okay. And then as far as like fulfillment and everything, like actually shipping the product to China, is that the responsibility of the brand?
Right now, we help the brands. So we know a lot of the brands cannot or do not like to ship to China directly due to the language, due to the import-export policy that are hard to deal with. So we do help with fulfillment. So right now, everyone or most of the stores will ship everything to us in our fulfillment center, where it will be repacked and shipped out.
Wow. So you guys really cover everything, almost like a cross-border e-commerce store.
Yes, a little bit too much of everything, but I think that's sort of the service we trying to deliver, or trying to figure out how to really create that connection or that experience seamless for both sides or for everyone. We see ourselves as a service platform.
Mm-hmm. So I'm, as far as when you're working with brands, do you, take a commission, or how does that work for the brand?
Yes,
because you're doing a lot for the brand. So
yes, we're commission based.
Okay. Got it. Okay, cool. Well, yeah, now that I think that helps with people understanding the business model a bit more. So I kind of want to transition and talk about your customers. So obviously we know they're Chinese, but who are your customers, and why would they want to, we talked about the authenticity and things like that, but maybe you could just tell us a little bit more about your customers and why they, watch your shows and why they like to purchase from you.
Our customers right now are mainly primarily Chinese female consumers who are between the age of 25 to 40. These young generation of Chinese consumers who were able to who traveled and also able to appreciate the international shopping experience. And they are following the fast fashion trend, the global trend as well. So they're very curious, and they like to find products or things or experience that they don't have within their current living environment. So these Chinese consumers, you live in China, so you probably know that Chinese people are very, very, how do I say, very well educated shoppers. And they do a lot of research when they buy. So I guess live stream itself also creates a direct education for product that they're not aware of, or for experience that they are not aware of.
Yeah, and I think it's probably really interesting for them to discover these new brands. And I think, Chinese people today are a lot different than they were even 5 or 10 years ago. I think like now they really want to learn about these niche brands, and they want to know what's popular in other countries, and be ahead of the trends. I think that's a kind of a new thing that's going on in China these days,
and creating their own trend. So I think that they're shifting from being the follower to more of the creator, in a way that they want to be unique, or they want to present their individuality much more compared to probably 5 or 7 years ago, where everybody was just looking for the it bag, or was just looking for a big logo to put on their body. I think that generation has slowly educated themselves to the point where they are seeking for differences.
Yeah, and they want that niche product that maybe other people don't know about yet. And I think that's really interesting. You said that your customers are between 25 or 40, because I think that's young, but it's also old enough that they have significant spending power, as opposed to a lot of I think like a lot of followers, who are in their early 20s might not be able to actually, they might be really interested in the brand, but they can't actually buy the product.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's a learning process for the younger generation, or the younger audiences, for them to actually to get to know what outside world looks like, but they're not fluent travelers yet. They haven't really experienced or traveled outside of China to really understand it. So I think that's where our future target is.
Yeah, they're not quite there yet.
And now it's time for this week's Parklu Influencer Marketing Insights. We asked 4 marketing experts if they thought brands could gain loyalty from influencers, and here's what they said. Kim Lutzens, co-founder of Parklu, said, long-term single-brand partnerships are definitely tricky for KOLs, as many KOLs' bread and butter is product reviews. On the other hand, we're seeing a boom in online influencers launching their own brands. Josh Stamel of Influencer Inc. said, I've seen multiple cases in the B2B space where brands have successfully implemented long-term exclusive relationships with KOLs. KOLs should be free to be honest in their opinions, otherwise they will become frustrated and their audiences won't believe them. Joe Beckler is the managing director of Frontier Strategy Group, and he said, it's possible for brands to get loyalty or exclusivity from KOLs, but it isn't easy. Influencers and corporations could have very different values or ways of engaging their audiences, which could complicate things. Stella Yuan is a China senior retail manager of Estee Lauder, and she said, high-value KOLs must ensure that their personal image is independent. Therefore, I don't think it's necessary for brands to acquire KOL loyalty. For more insights and to read the rest of this article from Parklu, please visit us at chinainfluencermarketing.com/Parklu. I hope you enjoy the rest of the podcast.
So you've mentioned a little bit about your hosts, but since, this is an influencer marketing podcast, so I kind of want to talk about your hosts, because I think that ShopShops has grown its reputation in China, but I'm sure that your audience, like you said, will interact with the hosts, and they will trust the host's recommendations, and like you said, that the hosts will also pick which items that they want to feature. So I feel like your hosts are almost like little they're like influencers on behalf of ShopShops. So I was just wondering if you could talk a bit about how many of these hosts do you have? Who are they? You know, how do you go about choosing someone to be a good live streaming host?
I have to say that we don't really know the recipe of how to choose to become a great host yet. We do have a group of, I think right now, part-time and full-time hosts together. We have a group about 80.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So a full-time host, or as what we call as main host, both on East Coast and West Coast, add together, we have around, I believe, around 12, including myself as one of the main hosts too. But we also have assistant hosts who are participating in the live stream as helpers or fit models or just another presenters to share the time slot together. Because not really one person can stand in front of the camera and dress herself without going to the change room. So basically, I would say that most of our hosts has shown they have strong content creation ability. They are very comfortable with themselves in front of camera. A lot of them comes from a very strong fashion background, such as Parsons, FIT, or even media marketing positions. A lot of them, or almost all of them, are super interested in fashion. They have their own style. Some of them are influencers on Instagram or Facebook or on Weibo, which is one of the social media channels in China. So they are already opinion leaders online or offline to their peers. So I think that's where we see the future generation of influencers will be live stream influencers who has more of the knowledge that needed and able to communicate more directly without editing, without changing the background of the image or without any filtering. So a lot of it's very direct, it's very real, and so that requires the host to be able to answer a lot of questions, to be really good at what they do, or what really know the content that they're talking about.
Yeah, definitely. They have to be able to think on their feet and constantly, continually be providing information and entertainment the entire time. They can't just be like, oh, I don't know what to say. This is, like, so yes. Yeah, they really have to know how to host too.
Yes, and there's a lot of surprises we've seen. I think it's more, I think everyone can be a host as long as, or an influencer, as long as he or she is very concentrated or very focused on whatever he or she likes. We have events that are hosted by one of our member from our logistic team who was extremely interested in Lego. Like, he is probably the kids of Legoland. And when we did a content event where we go into the Lego store and have people ask questions on explaining different parts of the Lego, he took on that as a fun sort of challenge, and he did it perfectly.
Because that's what he loves. Yeah.
So I think it's not really, I have to be this or I have to be that to become an influencer. I think as long as you have the knowledge and the talent of that specific area that you love and able to express and able to tell people why you love it so much, and you can be the influencer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have to be able to give your opinion about the product or the company or whatever it is, to be able to add some value to it and be giving your thoughtful opinion about it as well.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, that's really. I didn't realize you guys had so many hosts. That's crazy. That's a lot. A lot of people to be managing. Are you guys doing a host?
They're not all full time.
Right. Are you guys doing a show every day, or how often are you doing shows?
I think we're running about 3 events now.
A day?
On a daily basis.
Oh, wow.
3 to 4 events on a daily basis, 2 on each side or each coast.
Oh, wow. Okay. And yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot going on. So when you're doing that, I mean, when you have that many live streams going on, what kind of preparation goes into these live streams? Like, what do you have to do ahead of time to make sure that they go smoothly?
There are several things that our host does. Most of them have to visit the stores, what we call walkthrough prior to the event. A lot of it is done depending on the size of the store and also the level of difficulty. So a lot of it is done days prior or weeks prior, and then there's also possibly just the night before. And they have to be able to prepare the live streams content themselves. Basically, it's like doing a pre-walkthrough and then a write-up of basically what you want to talk about. Not everything in writing, but the bullet points of what great product to present and what type of events or interaction events that they're trying to do. So that's the preparation prior to the event, but during the event, it's pretty easy. Like I said, it's a phone, it's a tripod, maybe with the phone charger, and going to the store with the store owners or store managers opening up, and a lot of them will help with presenting the products or even making suggestions on the top sellers. So it's relatively speaking quite easy. It's not as complicated as everyone thinks about it, I think.
Okay. And I mean, you mentioned as far as technically, it sounds like the setup is pretty easy. Are there ever any issues as far as like a slow connection? I just imagine in New York City, like with those buildings, how do you deal with that? Or do you ever have to find a different location to do it in, or?
Well, because we're at the retail store, so
Right.
This is probably one of the hardest part. That's why the walkthrough is very important. When we do the walkthrough, we do test for the Wi-Fi connectivity and looking and also talking to the stores and learn about their connection within the store, see the feasibility of that connection. And most of the time, I think we're okay. And we do have incidents where there is no connection today, but when we had to walk through, the connection was perfect. A lot of it is due to local construction. And New York construction turns out suddenly everywhere sometimes. And and that's sort of what we get a lot of problems on. Connectivity is one of the major issues. And also a lot of the time, I think it's due to traffic or one of those rainy days, and either the host or the store might be late. But these are problems, I think, that we learn to work with and deal with.
Mm-hmm. And that's just part of, I think, live streaming too, is that the viewers also know that that it's not going to be perfect, I think sometimes viewers, obviously they hope everything will work well, but like they understand that it's live. So sometimes things come up that you can't do anything about. So, yeah, sometimes
I think it's even that, because it's not perfect, and that's why it's so authentic, and that's why it's so fun.
Mm-hmm.
Believe it or not, we've had events of people watching our host looking for her cars for an hour because she lost her car.
Oh, no.
And it got towed away. And so she had to go look for her towed car. And throughout the whole thing, there was hundreds of people watching her trying to find her car. And eventually, when she found her car and shut it down, and then everybody, like when they came back, even months later, still mentioning that incident where
so
they were all trying to help, far, far, far away.
I love that she left the live stream on throughout that. That's so funny.
Yes, I think I mean, in a way, it also having a second opinion, I guess, when you're nervous, talking to strangers, like when you're nervous in a situation and having someone there talk to you and calm you down. It's almost like having a friend, but on live stream. And so this is a lot of the things that we've seen that are very interesting. We've had hosts who are running for, who are closing down a live stream event to go to catch a plane. And the next day we had many customers asking the next event to different hosts that if the other host has catched or were able to make it to the plane or not.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm sure that because you guys have so many customers that are tuning in to all of your different shows, that a lot of them almost become friends with you guys because you start recognizing their names and you talk to them so much that they do almost become friends.
Yes, they are. A lot of them are like friends, and they do remember your body size or even your bra size to be to be honest, because your bra size might be exactly the same size as theirs. So there's a lot of very personal connections being made, and we've also actually seen connections among the viewers becoming friends themselves through watching us.
Yeah.
So I think that's where we found it interesting, and there's definitely a strong social element on live stream shopping that's not really on any other online shopping places yet.
Yeah, I mean, I love it because I just think that really speaks to the power of live streaming, because it's just such a different connection that you make with the audience, and somebody is, I'm sure, so much more likely to buy something from you guys when they have such a close connection with you. And I just find it so interesting. So I kind of want to wrap things up by talking about just the Chinese e-commerce live streaming market, because I think that, as you know, like 2016 and 2017, live streaming was super hot in China. Everyone was talking about it, and now it's still very popular, but I think that everyone's kind of talking about, short video, and so I was just wondering, have you seen any drop in people watching live streaming, or has that not really changed for you much? How do you see the e-commerce live streaming trend still going strong?
I think live streaming / short video is actually one thing. Live streaming is also can be edited or can be viewed as short videos, and that's what our product or ShopShops main app came out will be looking as a short video content provider, where a lot of the content are directly translated from the live stream. So I would think that this is, I think the live stream marketing is the future for retail, especially offline retail to online shopping experience. I think this is changing a user behavior. It's not just a fad. It's actually a changing of how people shop, from looking at images to looking at videos / live. So I think it's a translation, or it's a translation of how it is how you translate the product from pictures to a real action. So I think this is the future, not only in China, but it will be a global translation or transformation of how people shop.
Yeah, I think that also e-commerce live streaming is also very different than maybe the live streaming industry as a whole. And it seems to me like e-commerce live streaming, whether it's on, Taobao or JD, or like you said, your own individual channel, or on a WeChat mini program, I think that e-commerce live streaming seems to be still really popular and really strong. Maybe the other types of live streaming aren't doing as well as they were before, but I think that they're two like very different industries and have like different audiences as well.
Yes, I totally agree with you. I think the starting live stream, like you mentioned in the 2016 or 17, the content itself was very boring, or it's very limited to a very small crowd of people's interests. Well, not small, but I think to a much younger targeted audiences. I think the successful live stream right now is probably mainly on gaming. Other than gaming, then there's not much you can really gain from live streaming besides pay 100 to buy coins and then translate that into giving flowers or something to the hosts that are singing towards you. But I mean, e-commerce live stream is completely different because the model itself is based on real product and content. And so that can lead directly to purchases. And for what we believe is that even products that are introduced months or years ago, as long as that product is still exists and still available, that content is still very important and it's still vital. So people can still buy off that content that's created. So that's just like image, where you take the picture years ago, but as long as that product still exists and you can still buy from that picture. So in my opinion, it's a completely different model. And in my opinion, that live stream connecting with e-commerce is probably the most interesting or profitable way of using this media.
Yeah, that just another question came to mind. So if you work with a brand and you live stream with them, are like you said, are there videos or pictures from that live stream, or is there access to those products even like a week or a month afterwards? Like if somebody misses the live stream, are they still able to go back and?
Yep.
Okay.
So it depends on, obviously it depends on the product, and then also depends on the store. For example, if it's a vintage show, we still do have that video on replay, but not any of the item is viable anymore because it's only available during that live stream time period. But obviously, our goal is to connect with as many offline retailer as possible through real like API plugins or API connections, that where we are able to pull their data of what products that are available and existing to sell to the replays of audiences who came back to watch the replays.
Okay. That's really cool. Okay. So, if people listening want to learn more, about ShopShops or to get in touch with you guys, where should they go? What's the best place to do that?
Please follow us on Instagram, ShopShops-official. And also you can reach us on our website where you can email us directly with questions, or we are on all different social media channels. As well as please download our app if you guys can, although it's in English. I mean, in Chinese, most of the contents are in Chinese, but we're working very hard to build in the dual language system or app as soon as we can.
So the Chinese language app is already out?
Yes, it is already out.
Oh, cool. And what name is that under?
Shops.
Oh, it's still under that. Okay, I didn't know if you guys had a different Chinese name.
In our Chinese name, direct translation, we are called Nar Guang.
Oh, okay, gotcha. So if people look up the App Store, they just use ShopShops to look it up in the App Store, though.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, that's cool. Well, thank you so much. I mean, this was really interesting to learn more about you guys and everything. I think that it's a really cool business model that you have going on, and it's really exciting to hear how much success that you're having.
Thank you so much for having me and learning about ShopShops.
Hi, everyone. I hope you enjoyed that interview with Liyia. You can find links to the ShopShops website and their social media channels in the show description or in the show notes on ChinaInfluencerMarketing.com. I'd love to hear what you thought of the episode. You can leave me a comment on ChinaInfluencerMarketing.com or reach out to me on LinkedIn. And if you liked this episode and know somebody else who might like it too, don't forget to share it. Thanks, and talk to you next week.